Hello and welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Kalamazoo, Michigan at Odyssey Games. I'm Ken Crocker here with Jadine Klomparens. How you doing, Jadine?
I'm really good. How are you, Ken?
I'm doing alright. So today you brought Jeskai tokens to the tournament scene, and we got some upgrades here from Fate Reforged that we're going to talk about. But obviously we got our token makers and Raise the Alarm and Whirling Outburst, our burn spells over here and Lightning Strike and Stoke the Flames. But we seem actually to be missing maybe one of the more hype cards from Fate Reforged and Monastery Mentor. Instead, you seem to be playing Goblin Rabblemaster. Why is that?
Well, Monastery Mentor isn't a red creature. You can't convoke it with Stoke the Flames. You can't even convoke the tokens. I mean, not for red, the important critical thing. You're going to have to cast double red if all you have is a Mentor. Further, Monastery Mentor is encouraging us to spend all our spells, make a lot of guys, and then just kind of be hoping that they don't really have anything, whereas Rabblemaster keeps pushing an advantage without us having to commit further to the game state. So we get to hold things in reserve, let them deal with our Rabblemaster, and then, if they do more.
Okay, so Goblin Rabblemaster seems to be kind of like trying to kill them dead right away, whereas maybe Monastery Mentor takes a while to get going, and you already have Jeskai Ascendancy for that.
Yeah, another thing is that Mentor on 3 is pretty bad. You can't do anything. Rabblemaster on 3 is really sweet. You get a guy. So
okay.
Mentor is more of maybe even a 5-drop because we're not playing like Wild Slash in the main, which you would need to accommodate something to do on turn 4 with Mentor. Well,
speaking of burn spells, you also seem to be eschewing Soulfire Grandmaster instead for Seeker of the Way. Why is that?
So Soulfire Grandmaster is a 2/2 and it stays a 2/2. It can't threaten to attack through Caryatids. It can't threaten to bounce off of a Courser. It's just stonewalled by all these really common green defensive creatures that sit there and doesn't do anything. Giving your spells and abilities lifelink is decent. It's not fantastic, especially in this deck. It's really good in a lot of matchups, but not necessarily where you want to be against a lot of our already problematic matchups like Abzan. Also, the final line of text on Soulfire Grandmaster, the pay 4 mana to return the next instant or sorcery you play this turn to your hand, encourages you to play out all your lands so that you get a lot of lands in the endgame and you can return your things and keep doing that. Jeskai Ascendancy, the thing that we're fueling the most, encourages you to hold lands in your hand at some point so that you can fuel your looting. And that's like a fundamental tension that I'm not really happy with including in my decks.
Okay, so it seems like maybe the Soulfire Grandmaster and the Monastery Mentor are more value-based, and you're trying to get your opponents as dead as possible, as soon as possible.
Yeah, those cards are really good and have a home in probably other decks, but this one, precisely, they don't seem to mesh perfectly with for me.
Alright, well, let's talk about the additions you made. Maybe not the omissions you made. The additions you made from Fate Reforged include 2 copies of Valorous Stance with 2 copies in the sideboard. So this has 2 modes. Exactly which mode are you using more and for what matchups?
I mean, we're more than happy to blow out, have a counterspell for Hero's Downfall, but what we're really looking for is the destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. People have kept asking me, what's the worst matchup for Jeskai tokens? And my response would just be the card Temple of Malady. It's not where we want to see. Abzan matchups, all of them are like pretty bad. So eventually I decided, alright, let's play some Valorous Stances in the main deck and just really get those Siege Rhinos dead. So that's why we are including that. We want a full 4 post-board against a lot of these matchups.
And then the really spicy addition you've made here to this deck is 2 Outpost Siege, the Red Siege. So we've seen what the green Frontier Siege has done for the Constellation decks and the Mono Green Devotion decks. What exactly is the Outpost Siege here doing? And do you normally choose Khans or do you choose Dragons?
Outpost Siege is fantastic. It's a Chandra Pyromaster that always zeros, that can't be interacted with normally. It can't be attacked down, it can't be Hero's Downfall, especially game 1 enchantment removal is really light and you're not likely to see that happening. Outpost Siege, Khans is the most common mode. If you have a really token heavy hand and your tokens are just getting outclassed because you're playing against Abzan and they just went Fleece Mane Lion Rhino and you just have like 5 tokens, sometimes you can just put it on Dragon to make your tokens really feel like they matter again, which is important if you have a draw without Ascendancy. In that, it's kind of taking the place at Jeskai Charm, which was our backup, our tokens matter card before with the lifelink mode. But really, we're trying to put it on Khans, we're trying to draw extra cards, and it's really good.
Well, that's actually really interesting that you're using this instead of Jeskai Charm, especially considering it's 1 mana more. But speaking of Jeskai Charm, it's here in the sideboard just for those matchups that you were talking about. You also have 2 Valorous Stance and 2 Wild Slashes. But the most interesting card here in your sideboard is you have a 3 of Abzan Advantage. Now, most people don't know what this card is, as it's around a 14th or 15th pick in actual Fate Reforged draft. But exactly what does Abzan Advantage do for you that wasn't originally done for this deck in the first place?
So there's a lot of problematic enchantments that you want to deal with, especially in the whip matchups. I used to, before Fate Reforged, play 2 Erase, and I always wanted to play a 3rd Erase because I really want access to an effect that can deal with these. But Erase is so narrow and so dead that you really just can't afford to draw multiple copies in a lot of games, even though you always want one, and it's so hard to play that 3rd one. Absent Advantage solves all that by giving you something to do, even if they don't draw their enchantments. It also is a card that kills Courser of Crewfix really well, which is something you want to do without burning a Stoke the Flames on it, and your Erase often just feels so awkward pointed at it. Absent Advantage lets you kill that Courser, make one of your guys better, and continue pushing in on the advantage.
So you're 3-0 at here in Kalamazoo, but you were originally supposed to go to the StarCityGames.com regional championships over in Chicago. So what stopped you from taking this masterpiece over there?
Well, I spent 9 hours in a car yesterday to drive about 2 hours, and then our alternator had some issues, so we didn't quite make it to the tournament, which was quite distressing, but we're here now and doing good.
All right, well, hopefully you'll be able to take this to another championship, and then maybe from here on out, we won't have so many car issues.
Yeah, I mean, I really hate alternators now. It's quite unfortunate.
Well, you know what, Jadine, thanks for signing us in from the sideboard. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it, Ken. See you later.
Stay tuned for more standard action here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series at Kalamazoo, Michigan.